What taxpayers need to understand is while buildings were burning and the province was short staff and our government was standing in front of TV cameras saying we're doing everything they can, they lied to your face. They didn't. I could have pulled together a lot more teams of guys, retired guys willing to come out and do this. We were not offering to do frontline, hose line fire, but there's
Good day, brothers and sisters, and you again watching Alex Sass Show here at the Glen Zone with Glenn Herring. Yeah, today we're going to talk about fires. It's important, and it is a major red flag / false flags / some shenanigans going on for sure, and this is the show to watch if you want to be up to date with everything that's happening right now, that everything that superseded that, because there was a prequel to this story. We're also going to focus on should you wear a mask in this hazardous air kind of pollution, smoke thing going on? Well, you know, people have two opinions on that as they do. But it does seem like a reoccurrence of this nightmarish scenario that we had just a few years ago. Glenn, did you see all the fires that are burning right now?
Oh, duly noted, big guy. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm wearing my new style fire retardant clothing just in case. And I got a bit ahead of it. Last night I took a shower with fire retardant soap because you could never be too careful, you know.
There's such thing? I never knew there was such thing existed.
Oh, there you go, G-Man.
Well, brothers and sisters, if you don't know what's going on, if you live in Canada or anywhere in Northeast United States, for sure you do. Like this was the air quality pollution yesterday in Ottawa. This is Ottawa, Glenn. That looks pretty. I mean, Montreal looked just the same. And the smoke, apparently there's fires in New Jersey, by the way, too, which we're not really going to cover much on this show today. But this is what New York City looked like, Glenn. Check it out. Yeah, pretty bad. So here's what the legacy media has to say about things that do going on right now.
Over 400 wildfires burning right now in Canada, nearly 250 of which have been deemed out of control.
This is a scary time for a lot of people, not just in Alberta, but right across.
Are you scared?
Oh, he is all the time.
North and Quebec, too.
They don't even hide it. It's just more fear-monger. Be scared. Be afraid.
Yeah.
And brothers and sisters, by the way, we are going to make a case here that it's all intentional and you've been... Again, you know, they're giving you a bunch of nonsense right now, but we're going to give you the true story.
This has been the worst spring fire season in Canadian history, and government officials say modeling shows that it might be an especially severe wildfire season right through
Oh, here you go. Models, right? Remember the models with the other thing that we had not so long ago? You remember the models that were showing how terrible it's going to be?
Oh, the scamdemic.
Yeah. That's it.
I will acknowledge that the images that we have seen so far this season
Who is this guy?
are some of the most severe ever
Like
witnessed
Bill
in
Blair.
Canada. And the current forecast for the next few months indicates the potential for continued higher than normal fire activity.
The incredible devastation has left 26,000 Canadians across 9 provinces and 2 territories displaced, having left their communities with only the hope that one day they might come back to their homes still intact.
We gathered up our belongings and
So, yeah, there's people actually suffering as a result of this right away. Right off the bat, this is already an attack on people.
Yeah, whatever's engineered, there's always people who are suffering, obviously. Few are going to benefit from it, or they're getting in front of something else. Personally, big guy, I think this is being used to cover up some stuff that's very important in the media. They talk about global warming, and now the second part of the carbon tax is kicking into effect. And so this wants to push that through. At the same time, they want to take the onus off the Chinese collusion with the Liberal government. let's divert people's attention. Let's distract them, and don't forget, people, get those masks out.
That's actually, well, brothers and sisters, this is a comedy hour because we're not here to fearmonger like this blog we just showed you a few minutes ago by the name of Justin. Because it's all about fear. It's either hate crimes against the minorities. Well, certain minorities. You can do hate crimes against other minorities. That's okay. Here in Canada, for sure, you can. Well, not according to me, but according to our fearless leader. But he's not really fearless, right? He's fear-mongering. But I joked about it. Remember a few days ago, like how the countries and states with the volcanoes in there, they should pay extra carbon tax because, volcano spews a little bit and it's like covers activity of all of the human activity in an entire globe for the whole entire, industrial history. And, all the carbon that volcano spews is not even equal to that. It's a lot more. What happens with the fires? Does Canada have to now put in the share more?
With all the regulations against industry spewing out carbons, I wonder if all that was for nothing and all these fires are causing 10 times worse the problem. Just like you said.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, brothers and sisters, get ready to pay more in taxes. And I mean, we can watch a little bit of what's going on. Look at that. Is that a coincidence?
Were evacuated in May due to wildfires. Halfway River First Nation will see residents return this week. While
it's all across Canada. How's that possible? And you're right. There's not that many fires in United States.
Oh, it stops at the border. I guess you need a passport fire.
Yeah, passport needs a fire. Well, unless it's coming from like south, right? If it's coming from Mexico, then it gets a special bus or the plane. Well, there's. We have some a little bit more of entertaining videos. Look at that. That's in Quebec. How is that humanly possible?
All at the same time.
Insane.
So this is
Look at that.
Quebec fires. They started all at the same time.
The whole thing.
He said insane. Just insane.
All at once.
How's it possible, Glenn? Like, okay, you can call anyone conspiracy theorist. Looking at this, okay, I was talking and not showing brothers and sisters what it is. Let's show the picture. Brothers and sisters, watch this again.
All of southeast Quebec just caught on fire, guys. All of it. Insane.
Glenn, how do you explain this?
Insane.
It's insane. It's insane, but it's not true.
No,
the whole thing.
What's the conspiracy theory behind it?
All at once.
It has to be started manually.
Right, but can you explain it? What's the natural cause? Like, what can is it the lightning strikes? Is that the I don't know. Well, we have some reasons. We'll get into the reasons why those things may happen.
We're not even in the summer yet. It's still the spring. You know what I mean? The vegetation is not dried out yet. So something strange is happening.
And the fires, if you notice, they started like look at in this visual. They all started up in northwest, right? So that's even colder temperatures. And now here it's all look at the presentation of this. It's all burning, all of the Quebec, Nova Scotia. I understand it was like partially, I don't know, 10% of the province, 15%, and New York as well. Look,
are we all afraid yet? Okay, let's stay indoors. Let's wear your mask. Get under your blankets, everybody.
By the way, that's what you're being recommended to do, is to stay indoors. Yeah. You know that, right?
Yeah, let's bring up the anxiety rate some more. It's not high enough yet.
This is how fires are set, Glenn. Look. Like, this is the helicopter, brother and sister, if you're listening to the show, this is the helicopter spraying fire on the forest below. And this is the close-up. This is the view from helicopter. If you're not sure how those things are done, this is, well, we don't really know where this footage is taken from. And most likely, this is just some random footage from internet. And in no way in shape I'm going to claim this is the footage from Quebec or Alberta fires at all. But to answer the question, how it's done, what is the conspiracist, theorist answer to this? This is how it's done. It doesn't take much. The helicopter flies over the territory with some fire spray behind it, whatever that substance they're spraying on. I don't even know.
So, Champ, what you're saying is it's not fireflies rubbing their feet together, starting fires everywhere.
Well, it's possible. It's possible, right? I don't know. This is a good conspiracy. Look, the picture does not look green; it looks red. And again, notice how all those graphics, this is taken from, I believe, an official website, the Firewatch website of North America. It does remind you of remember how the website came out when the plane gimmick happened? They kept records, how many people hospitalized, how many healed, how many died, how many in critical condition, how many in the emergency room. That sort of reminds you of that, more of the fear mongering. Brothers and sisters, don't watch none of that stuff.
Champ, you said, it's a lot warmer down south of the border, especially closer to the Mexico border. I have relatives down in Texas, and they're saying it's 94 degrees, which would be 40 degrees our temperature here. So I don't know. That would be all on fire there. So it looks planned. It's another pandemic.
Well, remember we covered this story just, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago we covered, maybe 3 max. Remember this?
Tom has been described as a great firefighter. Now he's facing 18 counts of arson.
I'm struggling, like any of our members, with questions of why and how. What did we miss?
The charges after nearly a dozen fires were set throughout Mayerthorpe in April. The largest, the one that destroyed the landmark railway bridge.
Glenn, that's May 1st. We covered that story May 1st. They caught him doing did they catch him, or he got caught by some innocent bystanders and they just threw him under the bus? Look, you're gonna claim it. You did it on your own. You're crazy. They just threw him under the bus, did they?
Yeah, it looks like it. So the real perpetrators don't get caught. So we'll pay this young kid off.
Or maybe that's a MK Ultra thing. It's like Manchurian Candidate. He fits into that category. The porn watching, video game playing kid. Who knows? By the way, I don't know if he watches porn.
Bridge earlier this week. The fire chief says the accused helped fight 4 of the other fires and was a bystander at several more. Shalm is well known around town for more than his role within the fire department. He's the son of a former mayor.
Total shock, and how do you, as a family, how do you deal with that? I mean, we can't prepare for that because you don't see it coming.
The devastating.
He didn't sound shocked though. It seems like he's part of the problem, is he? That's the conspiracy.
It looks like narrative control.
Is it, Glenn? But remember the story that we covered with in Alberta, the other story with the diverse crowd.
Yeah, the diverse crowd. The 2 LGBT whatever. I mean, Trudeau can say it so fast, So he's really up to date with that. Maybe you and I should get up to date on our gay BCs.
Feminist firefighters accidentally set Banff ablaze. Remember that story, brothers and sisters? I mean, it's. I'm laughing at this now because this is the only way to address those news. But look at the pictures of these fearless firefighting chicks. Well, it's them, probably because there were also other diversity in the crowd. And they basically set Banff on fire. A lot of people and the cattle had to be evacuated. They called it a mishap. Following the mishap, an alert was issued. The local residents, tourists, and livestock evacuated from the area. With evacuation has since been lifted. So, Glenn, you think that was, and I know your perception of this, that was a practice run.
Yeah, if you want to be a good fighter, chances are you have to be involved in a lot of fights. So they want to be a good firefighters, so they start the fires so that they can practice.
Well, there's this story. A Red Deer RCMP charged men with arson, right? So we see people being caught setting fires intentionally. Like there's this guy that posted this picture on, I think maybe on Twitter. Just a second. Yes, right here. They got a photo of some edgy a spastic person who poured gas on the church in Barhead.
You covered that up pretty good, Sam. That was quick.
This was taken on Monday, and the news has yet to report on it. And cops seemingly haven't done stuff much like the other 60 plus church burnings over the last few years. But I don't think this is like the religious thing. This is more to do with the arsons going on and stuff like this.
Champ, the proliferation of these arseholes, arsonists, they're everywhere, and they're causing a lot of problems, insurance, people's lives, and,
Blame it on the racist. Is lightning racist then? Well, I believe it is, because lightning sets fires too. Lightning ignites new wildfires in northern Alberta, dry, windy conditions on the way. So this is May 28th story. So the May 1st story that we covered was the kid that got caught, in quotes, right? And then the women setting fire, that was like May 3rd story. And this is May, and now, okay, we got some arsonists there too as well. And now this is the excuse for fires being set is lightning.
It's just like Hollywood, champ. They prepare you for what's coming. Here, let's get them used to this fire. Let's get them used to a few more. Let's get them used to a couple of conspiracy theories. Oh, and then it just starts getting bigger and bigger. And here we are. All of Canada is burning, and it stops at the American border.
Speaking of Canada burning, but there's well, we should be used to that, because like we actually have a history of, we have prairies, right? This is a lot of grass. That grass is a perfect fire material. It does sometimes gets dry and sets on fire. We do have a lot of forest in Canada that is basically wood, and it's a carbon-based life, so it is set on fire as well, sometimes by things like lightning. And it does happen, brothers and sisters. It just doesn't happen the way it's happening now. We'll get to it in a second. There's a reason why I believe this is a false flag, and Glenn really thinks this is a distraction from what really is going on, and also it's like a second stage to the carbon tax, and also ushering of new climate change era. This is prepares you for that. 100% aware of that. Yeah.
And big guy, another thing that's very important, because Canada's politics is heating up. It's hot now.
So that's what set the fire?
Yeah, it looks like because of the foreign intervention in our electoral system.
Chinese intervention specifically. So a history of cuts to Albertan firefighting budget explained. So basically we had this elite unit of firefighters that was specifically designed to address things that are happening right now in Canada, and it's been cut. And dramatically so. And if you look at actually what's interesting here, I'm not going to read through the article, but basically they're complaining that there's no budget, and the budget's been cut since like 2019 successfully every year. And if you look at the wildfires being burned in 2023, we're not even halfway through it yet. But statistically speaking, we're already beating out the most recent 2019 and 2011, where obviously those were complete years. We're already past that mark. So even statistically speaking, of course, they're going to reverse that statistic. Like Bill Gates' book, How to Lie with Statistics. They're going to be like, oh, look, that's the climate change. We need to address it. Pay more carbon tax. And now, Glenn, how much did it cost you? $200 now to fill up your truck?
Yeah,
it's going to be like 400 now.
They're preparing us for what? A devaluation of the currency. Okay, what's really burning is the government's burning through printed money for all their programs, sending money around the world, and they have to increase the budget some more. They can never bring it back down, or else the economy will collapse here in Canada. So then they have to print more money to fund this budget increase.
Well, this is a good example of how the burning economy. Well, and again, brothers and sisters, I'm not showing you footage from the current fires being set. This is an example of how a fire could be started. And if you look at the picture, but now this is a current picture, Glenn. I'm going to show you a current picture.
That could also be a safe burn too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But this is the same technique that's used. But look at this picture. Is that a coincidence that it's sort of like burning all in a circle like this?
Yeah, the real circle of fire they talk about, in northern communities.
Yeah, so it's interesting that it's like this, right? And it's a lake in in between. Some kind of it's definitely some kind of nefarious thing going on here. This is not by accident. And I'll show you this video again. Like, why is this why is Quebec fire started all at once? Look at that.
Southeast Quebec just caught on fire, guys.
All at once. Like, how can you explain that?
Yeah, I heard the premier of Quebec, Legault, he's asked assistance from France. A bunch of elite firefighters from France are supposed to be coming over, or they're already here.
South Africa, by the way, too. In South Africa, and we're actually going to address this in a second. Okay, let's get straight to this video. I'd like brothers and sisters, if you think we're all just conspiratorial here and we're just pushing conspiracy and we're crazy, listen, let's listen. And this is backed up. I checked on this guy. Why did you see this guy?
Hi, folks. I'm a retired forest technologist from the Department of Natural Resources, and I have 29 years' experience fighting forest fires here in Nova Scotia. As things progressed last week and buildings were burning and people were being evacuated, I realized that Nova Scotia had a resource of retired technical staff that were experts at fighting fire. And so I put together a team. I called some of these guys up, and I put together a crack team. And then I immediately notified Natural Resources.
A crack team?
In Shuby. I contacted a local district supervisor. And they both notified me that the province wouldn't be interested in hiring on any retired staff to do work. So
we just saw that how understaffed the thing is with budget cuts and everything. And it is an emergency. It is an emergency. Why wouldn't you address it, Glenn? What is the reason beyond like let it burn?
Yeah,
there is a control burn of the economy, control burn of people's livelihoods.
Yeah, we talk about that often on the show, but it seemed like people just can't believe it, or because I understand why they can't believe it, or they just they shun it. Is because we've never really had big problems here in Canada, but if you notice, they're coming one after another in waves, getting people used to it.
All coming to a great reset, right? Like, this is okay.
At the same time we were being told that, the premier was begging for help on every newscast that he could get on. So I started that last Tuesday, and then I fought with the province on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and again on Friday, trying to get our guys.
So what he's saying, it's all a theater. He's coming. He is the one. He's volunteering. He's approaching. But he's not just a guy that's sitting in the basement. This is a guy with experience.
Put in key positions where they were needed throughout the province. And I got the same answer continually. Thank you, but no thank you. Finally, I got frustrated and went on talk radio on Thursday, and then I got a phone call from Shuby Radio that said, or not Shuby Radio, Shuby Fire Control, that they'd put my name on the list and the name of a few others. It was a polite way to say, look, we know you're making noise. Thank you, but no thank you. We're still not going to hire you guys to come fight fires. So what taxpayers need to understand is while buildings were burning and the province was short-staffed, and our government was standing in front of TV cameras saying we're doing everything they can, they lied to your face. They didn't. I could have pulled together a lot more teams of guys.
Is that criminal, in your opinion?
Well, yeah.
That's negligence. It's not negligence. That would be like deliberate, right? If you know you have the resources that you can address and you intentionally avoid it, that's negligence.
Yeah, and you have people who are willing to, disrupt their lives to go in there to do what they're supposed to do, especially gentlemen like this who have all those years of experience. I mean, people like that are needed now.
And at this point, he's an ordinary citizen. He's not part of the government.
Of retired guys willing to come out and do this. We were not offering to do.
So that's the point, brothers and sisters. If you think at any point that the government here is your friend and they're here to help you, they are not.
If you don't know that by now, we have some land for sale for you in Florida, cheap, real cheap.
Well, right now it's in Alberta and northern Quebec.
Front line, hose line fire, but
Bring your hoses.
For every guy on the line, sometimes there's 3 guys behind the line providing what they need in the way of services. And we were highly trained in both evacuation, all levels of incident command. Personally, I've been incident commander on dozens of different fires and fought fires up to 50,000 acres. And
that's a big fire.
Together on the first team I put together, we had close to 200 years of experience of fighting fires.
So,
here
brothers and sisters, this is not just a guy that sits at home, plays video games, like, oh, I want to volunteer. Let me go. You know, this is the guy with enormous experience.
At the Acadia region of Nova Scotia, we have our own particular forests down here that...
And not just experienced in fighting fire in the region where the fire is burning, so he's very familiar with the forest, its intricate differences compared to other, geographical locations. He understands. This is his backyard. He knows how it works.
For example, all the crews that are being shipped in have zero experience fighting fires in an Acadian forest region. Most of their experience is in boreal forests. The guys from South Africa have no experience up here. The guys from the U.S., same thing.
On the other hand, isn't it more expensive to bring guys from South Africa to here?
Yeah, and what he just said, they don't really have the experience. And here you have people who are experienced, and the government says, no thanks, not this way.
Doesn't that remind you, because maybe the local guys, straight up, brothers and sisters, are calling this right now. The reason why they're not hiring this guy, because this guy going to go and is like, this is nonsense. This is controlled fire or non-controlled fire. This is arson, because fire doesn't burn that way, because he would see it. That's exactly why they're not hiring him. That's 100% is. And they're going to bring the guy from South Africa who 10 generation doesn't give a crap because he's getting paid to come here. And if he sees it, who is he going to tell? He's going to tell back to some people in South Africa who 10 generations don't care. And this guy would see it for what it is, for what it's worth, and he's already outspoken. He's going on talk shows and everything else. He's already got that number. And brothers and sisters, this stuff is serious.
And our own government passed over an opportunity to hire a team of professionals to come in and help them do the work they're now paying for foreigners to come in and do who aren't experienced.
They're paying. He just said it. Brothers and sisters, doesn't it make your blood boil?
According to a lot of people, there's a lot of things that make the G-man's blood boil. But so the false truths make the blood boil. When so few people realize it, that is a little hard because it's staring you right in the face. All you have to do is look. But we have the zombie apocalypse going on right now where people, they haven't got a clue what's going on around them. And not only that, but they can't even be bothered to want to know the truth. So this is the real pandemic that we have going on.
Yeah, this guy's interesting. I'm wondering
in our forest type, and it's absolutely a disgrace to the province. Now I realize that there were major problems at all levels. There appears to be problem at bureaucratic levels, managerial levels, and at political levels. When things should have been done, they weren't getting done. But I'd like to quote what Tim Houston said on Thursday on Talk Radio. He said, in an emergency, the time for action is now, the time for paperwork is later. And that was only minutes after I'd just been advised from Shubenacadie, thanks, but no thanks, we're not going to take you guys on. So our team stayed on standby, hoping that we'd get a call all week, and that call never came. So if you lost your house and fires remained out of control, when a politician looks you in the eye and says, we did everything we could, they're lying to your face. And what has to happen here is people need to be held accountable both at a bureaucratic level and at a political level. So how do we fix this?
Well, he's calling them out, but he's short on calling them. He's calling them criminals, but because you're accountable for that. But why doesn't he say for real? This is he knows, like, that's what I just said. Like, this is controlled fire burn or uncontrolled fire burn that was started maliciously by powers to be.
Yeah, and he hit it right on the button when he said, when you see a politician's lips moving, they're lying.
Specifically,
what has to happen is a database has to be put together of retired DNR force firefighters. The guys are still interested that would like to be able to come out.
They're not interested in hiring old guys, professional from this region, dude, because you would know right away something afoot here. You would know this is a false flag. You would know this is an arsonist job. This is no lightning. This is not a global, what do they call it? Climate change. This is exactly why they're not hiring him, because he would know right away.
You know, we've been doing the podcast now for a little over 4 months, champ, and we've been warning people about these false flags that are going to be coming our way to cover up the real problem, which is the burning down of the economy.
And destruction of the West in general.
Keep themselves up to date and get called in on short notice.
Yeah, this guy needs to call it for what it really is. This is, like you said. But, brothers and sisters, I'm curious how many of you actually saw this. Let's watch this. This is from Alberta. This is a town hall.
So I've lived out there for over 30 years. I know a lot of people in this room. I knew about that fire before lunch on Friday, thanks to our Facebook group. Not one of you at all gave us a warning till 4 o'clock. So to hell with your damn political speeches up here. All these people in this room.
Look at them sitting out there. Did you notice anything?
They look like they're being humbled.
Rely on you people to get us information.
With the truth.
I have a friend that lives in Riverview Pines. He didn't even know about it till I phoned him at work and said, get your ass home, there's a fire. Then I got a horse trailer coming to my house and they get...
But do you honestly think it's a combination of both incompetence, because there's a lot of incompetent people, you know, in the bureaucracy, but or is it just straight up malicious intent?
50-50, big guy.
Get blocked, told they can't come in, until my buddy's wife says, I'm going to run your ass over if you don't move. So explain to me, Mr. Lemieux, how your system with all the livestock works when there's cattle liners lined up for my neighbor's 300 head of cattle on Highway 40 and they can't even get in.
That was another theory, right? That they are trying to kill not only, the grass for the grass feeding, the grass fields. Although it's probably a good thing if it burns, because that gives the ground nutrient, right? So in the beginning of the season, there's a chance that the good grass feed will come in. But there was another theory that they would actually actively trying to kill cattle and kill cattle farmers, businesses that way.
Yeah, so they can blame the rising prices on the supply chain, when in fact we know that it's the printing of dollars into existence is causing the real inflation. But they're looking for something to blame it on because they don't want the people to know the truth.
Or also you have people like Bill Gates buying all the farmlands in Canada and U.S. So how convenient. He'll probably be the only one running the business.
Your response was garbage on Friday. The neighborhood was more organized than any one of you, including bylaw.
Isn't
so
it ever?
Let us do our jobs. A local resident, who we all know who it is, I won't name him, got kicked out today. He had his own D6 in there before you guys.
D6 is a bulldozer, brothers and sisters.
Before you. And he got kicked out today. He had a second dozer show up yesterday and got turned around. I was told there was 8 more en route, got turned around. Pipestone Energy offered their pumping equipment to pump water, denied. You guys have resources coming out the ass from everybody that's experts.
So basically, the citizens, ordinary citizens, are stepping up in the game and like, okay, we're going to help you out. This is our livelihood. It's not about us helping government. We want to, save our livelihood, and the government actively working again. Just like in playing gimmick, close your shop, stay at home. Isn't it the same thing? Like it is a nightmarish scenario, right?
Yeah, it must be horrible for those people, what they're going through. And also you can see the government is doing everything that they can to delay getting rid of the problem.
So the problem grows. Yeah, it's an intentional.
In their fields here, and you said no. That resident with that dozer is so mad he's not here right now. I spoke to him personally this afternoon. He was scared he's going to get arrested if he showed up. He has done more for our community than anyone on that stage.
And it's just like, remember Tanya, we had Tanya on the show. She, during playing gimmick, when the gyms were closed, she had all those fitness groups outside for free, at no cost to the citizens. And this is exactly the point. Canada is still full of good people. That's outside of the government. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about what was. I actually haven't heard Pierre Poilievre say anything about fires. That's a red flag to me.
Not yet. He's still focusing on China.
Is he? Well, brothers and sisters, there's more to this story. Do you know? Well, remember, Glenn, we covered the cloud seeding not so long ago.
Yeah, it creates rain.
Creates rain, and we do have it. Like we showed you, the governments of many countries, including ours, that do that. And they're like, oh, we gotta wait for the rain. You don't have to wait for the rain. You can cloud seed and create rain to help you put out fires. Why don't they use this in this scenario, Glenn? Again, it's the same story because they're not interested.
Yeah, they've been using the cloud seeding in Midwest America, actually, to like Lake Mead to bring up the water levels, and the Colorado River, and it's working. So I don't know why if they predicted it was going to be a abnormally dry summer, which we're not even in the summer yet, then why wouldn't they do a little bit of cloud seeding to increase the precipitation rate?
And cloud seeding would be considered weather modification, brothers and sisters, right? So because Canada and U.S. are so close next to each other, Canada and U.S. have a treaty regarding, and if you still think this is conspiracy, they only use cloud seeding for, localized scenarios for farmers, etc. No. It's on much larger geographical scale. It's so large that to the point that U.S. and Canada have a treaty in which they share information regarding weather modification. And you can pull it up. Look, I'll pull it up right now. It's the Treaty E103819. It's an agreement between Canada and the United States of America relating to exchange of information on weather modification activities. The government of Canada and the government of the United States of America are aware, because of the geographic proximity, that the effects of weather modification activities carried out by either party or its nationals may affect the territory of the other. Nothing the diversity of the weather modification activities in both Canada and the United States by private parties, by state and provincial authorities, and by the federal governments, believing that the existing state of knowledge warrant that expectation of further development over a period of time in the science and technology of weather modification.
What the most important part is that what you just read is the effects of weather modification activities. So anybody who believes that they cannot control the weather, well, they're telling you right now, if you want to know the truth.
Oh, it says right here, Article 1, as used in the agreement, weather modification activities means activities performed with the intention of producing artificial changes in the composition, behavior, or dynamics of the atmosphere. Weather modification activities of mutual interest means weather modification activities carried out over territory of a party within 200 miles of the international boundary. Of course, if you're going to affect weather in southeast Quebec, of course it's going to, like the fires is a perfect example. So if it is a controlled burn, the Americans will do. If our Canadian citizens cannot find this information regarding this thing that's going on right now via this act, American citizens, American brothers and sisters south of the border, you guys go through your, what do they call it, the Freedom of Information Act, right? For FICA, you can actually order the information to be disclosed based on this agreement. Like, was this a weather modification thing? So, I don't know. I'm planting some seeds here.
Just a little dynamic side note, big guy.
What's
Not
up?
even 6 weeks ago, they were warning all around Montreal that in Quebec that looks like it was going to be a major flooding season. And now it's a dry out season and everything's on fire. Wow. Things changed real quick, right?
Oh, that's, well, weather modification in action. By the way, with all that smog that, the video of the smog that we showed in Ottawa and Montreal, I'll show you this video again, just so you understand. It is an issue, right? So, no, that's not the video. That's the video.
That's the creation of the smog.
That's the creation of the smog. That's the video right here. Right, it looks pretty, and it's menacing yellow. That's pretty sick. By the way, they told you to stay at home. Remember? Like, again, it's just like a plain gimmick. Stay at home, be afraid. And Glenn, question to you. How do you see people wearing masks? Because that's another thing that now people are like, oh, should I wear a mask?
Yeah, I just before the podcast, I had to take the Rambo, the Rottweiler, out for his walk. And sure enough, there's people walking around with masks on more than they were because of the scamdemic. It's already started, People, they're affected. Their actions are dictated by their fears. The government, the powers that be, are controlling you through your fears, which is an emotion. When they do that, logic goes out the window and you cannot make proper choices for yourself. It's just like, oh, I'm afraid. Tell me what to do. How's that working out?
Well, this is actually a legit question. And I agree it's a legit question. And I had a discussion yesterday with my friend, and the point of the question was, well, N95 is the particle mask that, they told us that stops COVID, supposedly, right? And that's the one you should wear with probably should double it up just in case. But there's what the director of public health said about that? So, this is an article. Again, this is not Alex and Glenn making this stuff up. This is not emotional attachment to an issue. This is a public health official from Quebec says, go ahead, Glenn.
It's rhyming from 3.5 years ago when at the beginning of the scamdemic, they said, oh, masks are not necessary. They don't really work. And then they're telling you, yeah, you should wear a mask. Sometimes you should wear 2 masks in case one falls off.
Despite the documented effectiveness of the N95 mask in filtering fine particles emitted by forest fires, which cause a decrease in air quality in several regions of Quebec, the wearing of it by the population of sectors concerned is not recommended by the National Director of Public Health, Luc, how do you say that? Below?
Yeah.
Whatever. The levels of pollutants to which we are exposed are not extremely high. Note that Luc, in an interview with Le Devoir on Tuesday, in the context, the expert and his team do not consider it necessary to recommend that Quebecers in regions affected by smog wear a N95 mask, even if several studies, demonstrate its effectiveness. What does it remind you of?
Yes.
You said it. You said it.
Same thing. It's starting to get hot in here. You know what Canada did today?
What?
They raised the interest rate. The central bank raised the overnight lending rate another 1/4 point. So that's really going to heat up things towards the collapse of the economy. In other words, we're in the quickening. It's the end stage coming. I'll give you another example, champ. You remember when we had the lockdowns and you weren't allowed to operate your business? There was a 250,000, approximately 250,000 businesses that had to shut down, or they had to take money from the CEBA, that's the Canadian Emergencies Business Account.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they had to pay that money back, or a portion of it. Of the, it affected 89% of businesses took money from the government. Only 10% have given this money back. And the date for which they're supposed to pay it all back, unless paying penalties, is December 31st, the end of this year. So a lot of people are warning in the industry that you're going to have massive bankruptcies. That's the real fire that's going to happen.
Brothers and sisters, Glenn is not trying to fear-monger you. He's telling you, be prepared. Be prepared, and, some good folk tell you always you should have a month worth of food and water stored in your house, and maybe some matches to start some forest fires. No, don't start forest fires. But brothers and sisters, there's a lot of nonsense going on, and you're here to discern. By the way, if you would watch legacy media, They would not mention any of the stuff that we talked here about. They will only tell you about how terrible it is, the air quality, and that you should stay at home and maybe wear a mask or not wear a mask. But we're telling you here, stay on top of the news, be aware, don't be scared, we're winning.
Maybe they're going to make a shot for this, champ. We can all line up again.
It's not a bad idea, brothers and sisters. On this note, we're going to see you on the next one.